My name is Taran McNulty. I'm a producer, intern, and media maker at the Community Media Center. I am also the content coordinator of this episode of Carroll Helping Carroll. Carroll Helping Carroll is a show designed to showcase local nonprofits that are making a difference in your community. In this episode, we would like to highlight the Humane Society of Carroll County. Karen Baker and Dave Ledford, who work at the Humane Society, have volunteered their time and expertise to give us more information about what their organization can do for you. Enjoy.
Dave, let's start off with what is the difference between purchasing a pet from a pet store and adopting from our shelter?
That's a great question. So purchasing a pet from a pet store is much different from, adopting a shelter animal, whether it be from a Humane Society or an animal control facility anywhere in the country. With a pet store, you go in, you have your $20 to get your guinea pig, and you take the guinea pig from the store. And that's all you know about it, right? You may know the color of it or the sex of it. And when you adopt from a shelter, you learn so much more. There is a background story, and there is, of course, the physical traits of the animal, but you're rescuing an animal from a situation instead of just going and picking out something. We call it window shopping. It's just a much better situation for the animal because there's not a lot of difference. Sometimes people get a pet store animal and they keep it for 2 months and then they just return it to a shelter. So there's not much difference from a pet store animal. Some people think that they're buying this product and animals just aren't products, right? So at a shelter you have a lot more time. There's staff that are there for you to look at the animal instead of a pet store where it's more of a retail situation. So, adopting from a shelter is very, very different. That's a good question,
Right, and I would add you're always saving a life when you're adopting from a shelter. You're making room for more animals to come into that shelter. And our staff at the Humane Society really take the time to get to know those animals and speak with the vets who are coming in to look at them and care for them. So they really have a personal connection with those animals.
Welcome to another rousing edition of Know Your Crew. In this segment, we'd like to recognize the folks behind the scenes. How about getting to know your crew? Handling our cameras and looking great doing it, we have Richard Slechter and Kevin McDermott. And giving the cues in case someone is taking a snooze, we have John Carver as floor director. Now follow the melodic sound of my voice to the headquarters of the shindig, the control room. You can see this bubbling crockpot of activity hard at work keeping you entertained. Can't you just feel that energy? Leading the show today as our technical director is the incomparable, uncontainable, unequivocal talent, Taran McNulty. Wave to the nice people. Faithfully by their side, as the keystone of this entire operation, the switcher extraordinaire, George Shearer. We couldn't possibly continue this tour without our supporting players, the backseat drivers, the fourth string contenders, filling up the peanut gallery. It's Cody McLaughlin. And me, I'm Mike Fell. And most importantly, we want to thank you folks out there for watching. And this has been Know Your Crew. Back to you, Karen.
Let's talk about the difference between fostering and adopting.
That's a good question. That really kind of ties in with what we were just talking about. We have a whole foster team, and I want to say not thousands, but we have hundreds of fosters that have fostered for us. Some people foster one time, some people foster 100 times. And when we have a foster that takes an animal home, they are not adopting it. Still the shelter's property. We still take care of all the costs of the animal, food, bedding, medical issues. What we're doing is basically giving that animal a better shot of staying healthy outside of the shelter. It's less stressful, they're in a home environment, and what it really does is it gets a family involved with finding out a lot about an animal that we may not know about. So when the animal does come back and somebody comes to adopt, we can go ahead and tell them that background story, where again, at a pet store, you're not getting all of that background. So the foster program is excellent. It's a lot different from adopting. Adopting, you come in, you adopt an animal, and it's yours. You know, you take on that animal for the rest of its life. We call it a forever home. With a foster, it is usually a few months, 1 month to 3 months, that an animal or litter of kittens, say, is at the facility. You know.
Right, so number one type of animal that goes out to foster care?
Absolutely would be just kittens.
Right.
Not even bottle baby kittens, just kittens that need to get socialized and of weight to be fixed.
Right. Also some medical cases?
Yeah, medical case is a big one. You know, if we have a dog that has a skin allergy and it came in and was in really rough shape, we'll put it with a medical foster who's qualified and has been has worked with our staff and been trained to handle it, or has just background information herself about how to handle it.
Right.
So it's been great. It's been great.
Let's talk a little bit about how we as a Humane Society impact the community on a daily basis.
That's another great question. You know, the Humane Society of Carroll County takes in approximately 4,000 plus animals a year, and that we are trying to drive that number down. And we do that through a lot of different programs that are around every single day, volunteer programs, foster programs. And, you know, our staff has a ton of programs in place too. We are an open admission shelter, meaning we do not turn anyone away ever. So we take in quite a bit. We never know what's going to come through the door. And so just that, you know, being there for the community and that. But now you're seeing a turn where we're starting to really do a lot of outreach work. We have a team called CatSnip, and they are out in the community doing TNR, which stands for Trap, Neuter, Release. And what that is you know, basically just we have 10 cats that live in a community, and they are not fixed. So what happens, they breed, and it just creates a big problem. So they have created funding and major efforts into getting those cats fixed, and then the people keep the cats are happy and healthy, and everything works out. So programs like that have been tremendous. We have events we do all the time. We have things that go on at the shelter all the time, and you know, it's just the community involvement. You know, they say a shelter is only going to be as good as the community it's in, and we are so lucky in Carroll County because we have such a great community, and social media helps with that as well.
Right.
So it's a great question.
Right.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Carroll Helping Carroll. I would like to thank the Humane Society and our on-air talent for joining us today. You can find this segment and any other Carroll Helping Carroll segments airing on Comcast Channel 19. I'm Taran McNulty, and you're welcome.